a great day, and thank you so much for coming back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Andrea and welcome to Eldon Acres. So per usual, it is Sunday and we are going to do some Sunday meal prep. So today we're going to be prepping a couple meals to enjoy through the week, and then possibly a freezer meal. I'm not sure how much we're going to get to yet. It's a really crummy day out there today. I was hoping that I was going to get my garlic planted, but I think I will hold off and do that later this week. It is nearing the end of October. Halloween is going to be on Thursday, so just a couple days away. However, this week it's looking like we're going to be back into the 20 degrees Celsius range, which is absolutely phenomenal. I can't talk today apparently. Usually this time of year we're pretty chilly, so today I think it's a high of maybe 10, but it's super windy and really kind of yucky and overcast, so it feels a lot cooler. We've got our wood stove going, which is absolutely glorious. But anyways, so yeah, I was thinking that I would postpone and plate my garlic on a day when it's a little bit nicer out, so that will be the plan for Wednesday. But anyways, for today, just behind me here, I've got a pot of water boiling with some pasta in it. We're going to make a chicken parm bake for supper tonight. I have some leftover chicken tenders here, so we're going to use that in our chicken parm bake, so that just makes things a whole lot easier. I actually bought these at the grocery store. They had like a sale on, and it was actually cheaper to buy them. Oh, there's the timer for the pasta. I'm just gonna go and drain the pasta, and then we'll continue talking about this. I'll be right back. Okay, we've got our pasta drained. So as I was saying, I picked up these chicken tenders at the grocery store this past week. They had them on sale, and it was actually cheaper to buy them already pre-cooked than it was to buy frozen ones. We don't often do buy stuff like this already pre-made. Usually I like to make things from scratch, but I couldn't pass up a good deal, and I knew I'd be able to use them in some meal prep, and that's what we're doing. We're gonna pop them into a chicken parm bake. So my pasta is cooked and drained. So anytime I know that I'm going to be baking a pasta dish, I always undercook the pasta slightly. So this pasta called for al dente to be done for 7 minutes, so I did it for 6 minutes because it's going to bake further in the oven with sauce. I'm going to add one of my frozen garlic pucks in there now. The pasta is hot, so that'll just help melt it. So we're just going to tuck that in there. It smells delicious already. I'm going to close up our garlic bag. I'm going to keep it out because I think I will probably need it for another recipe. So anyways, I don't think I finished saying all the recipes that we're going to do today. So we're going to do the chicken parm bake, sorry, crinkly, for supper tonight. Then I'm going to do a shepherd's pie, so I've got 2 pounds of ground beef out. I'm not sure if I'm going to double that recipe or if I'll just cook both pounds of ground beef and then freeze. I like to keep frozen cooked ground beef in the freezer because it's just quick and easy. Pull it out, throw it into a chili or a shepherd's pie, or use it on for tacos. You can put it on nachos to have baked nachos. It's just really nice to have it already done in the freezer and just save yourself that step. So we'll see, we might use that, we might not. And then I have 5 pretty big boneless, skinless chicken breasts here. And I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do with those yet. I'm a little bit worried I'm gonna have too much food for this week. So what I might do, I've already thawed them out because I kind of forgot about the chicken parm bake. Story of my life. That's why it's important to always go through your fridge before you're gonna do a big cooking day like this, because then you'll find stuff that you know that you need to use up, which is what happened to me. But anyways, if we don't end up using the chicken breasts, I will either cook them and have cooked ready to go kind of rotisserie style chicken in the freezer. Same application, you just pull it out. It's great for soup, chicken pot pie, pastas, anything like that. Or I may also just put them in a freezer bag in a marinade and just have frozen marinated chicken. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna do yet. Stay tuned and we'll figure that out together. But anyways, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and get my chicken tenders, my breaded chicken tenders diced up. I'm going to get my pasta sauce onto my pasta, and we're gonna get moving right along. Alright, so usually I like to use a homegrown pasta sauce when I'm doing something like this, but as you know, I haven't done my pasta sauce yet for this year. All my tomatoes are just sitting in the freezer frozen, which is fine. I always keep, you know, store-bought pasta sauce on hand, but this one is kind of, I always find store-bought pasta sauce a little bit more bland, so we're just gonna kind of spice it up a little bit. I'm just dumping my pasta sauce right in there. We will put this into a baking dish and bake it, but I'm gonna mix everything in this dish here. Get a little spatula so we can get all that goodness out. When I drained my pasta, I did leave some pasta water in the pot here, and that'll just help kind of thin out our sauce. I also like to do that anytime I know that I'm going to be baking pasta, because I just find the more moisture that the pasta has, the nicer the dish turns out. As the pasta bakes, of course, it will soak up quite a bit of the sauce, so I always like to have things fairly saucy. You can smell that garlic that's starting to melt. So you can use any type of pasta when you're doing something like this. We like this one, the rotini. I find that the sauce just kind of gets all in those grooves and makes it super yummy. So I'm just gonna pop this back over behind me on the element. So that element's still warm, so that'll keep that nice and warm as well while I'm working on the rest of this. So we're just gonna dump out our chicken tenders, and I'm just gonna give them a rough chop. We just want them kind of in bite-sized pieces. I might actually do them a little bit smaller than I normally would, just because my daughter is going to be eating this too, and I know that she prefers smaller pieces, so we're gonna do that. Now, if you wanted to make this completely from scratch, which oftentimes I do as well, what I like to do is take my chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breasts, I like to butterfly them and then bread them and bake them or air fry them. And then I would serve them, I would dice them up, same thing, and put them in the bake. Or if you just wanted to do a chicken parm, instead of dicing them up, you just keep it whole, put it back in the oven, put your sauce and your cheese on top, and then you serve it on the side of your pasta, which I'm sure everybody knows. It's super easy. You can also buy your chicken from the grocery store, like frozen, already breaded, which makes life easy too. I'm all about a good, healthy cheat these days. I just feel like there is not enough time in a day. Alright, so we've got one ready to go in the oven, and that took no time at all. So what I like to do anytime I do this, you don't have to. At this point, you could just cover it up, pop it in the fridge, and then whatever night you want to enjoy it for supper, just pull it out of the fridge, pop it into your oven. I like to preheat my oven to 350, and usually I will bake it for about half an hour. You're just warming things through, melting the cheese. It doesn't need to cook, so to speak. You just want to rewarm it. I'm going to pre-bake mine because I like to have the cheese already melted. I like to brown the cheese a little bit. And then because typically my daughter eats before we do, I can just scoop hers out, quickly reheat hers, and then my husband and I can scoop ours, reheat ours at a separate later time. So I'm gonna bake this now. I've just got my oven preheating. What I usually like to serve with this is usually just a Caesar salad. Sometimes we will pull out some bread out of the freezer and do a garlic bread, but super quick and easy. Weeknight, just pull a bag salad out of the fridge and away you go. So I'm gonna pop this one into the oven, and then we are going to get going on our shepherd's pie next. Alrighty, so we're just gonna get some onions diced up now. So I like to add some onion anytime I'm browning ground beef or something like this. So we're on to our shepherd's pie. I've got all my ingredients out. Now, we're doing a couple cheats with this shepherd's pie. The first little cheat that we're doing is we are going to use a package of the shepherd's pie mix by Clubhouse. I really like these. It saves a ton of time. Oh boy, my eyes are starting to water already. Oh, I hate chopping onions. These are some of the onions out of our garden, I think, and they are potent. Anyways, so a couple cheats that we are going to do is the shepherd's pie package, so that just makes life so much easier. All the spices are already in there, and it tastes delicious. And then another little cheat that we are doing, so typically when you make shepherd's pie or cottage pie, you add mashed potatoes on the top. Now sometimes I don't have, oh my goodness, these onions are really getting me. Phew. Sometimes, I think I need a minute, just a sec. Okay, I'm back. I've got myself composed. Boy, those onions get me every darn time, and it's terrible. It takes me a couple minutes to recover. But anyways, I just popped some olive oil into our pan here, and our onions are in there. So I'm just gonna let those onions cook a little bit, come a little bit translucent, and then I'll add our ground beef in to start browning. As I was saying though, with this shepherd's pie, we are having a couple little shortcuts. So the shepherd's pie mix is one, but another one that I absolutely love, and actually Brandon, my husband, got me onto this one. Normally I am just, you know, a straight up mashed potatoes gal on the shepherd's pie, but this little hack is, number one, gonna save you a ton of time, and number two, it's absolutely delicious, especially if you have kids. They will love this. This is my secret weapon. So you can either use tots or you can use hash brown patties, whatever is easier for you to get your hands on, but I'll show you how I like to arrange them on the top before we bake them, and it turns out absolutely so delicious. So the tots bake in the oven as the shepherd's pie bakes. It takes 30 minutes at 400, I think, which is absolutely perfect for the tots. Now, add more tots than you think you're going to need, because everybody likes to have extra tots, so that's just a little trick. The other thing, today we are going to use this frozen vegetable medley. This is not the one that I typically like to use. I like to use a vegetable medley that has diced carrots, corn, and peas, and like a smaller dice. This will work just fine, and we really like this kind of vegetable in with our shepherd's pie. But if you want, you know, a nice cohesive, same kind of bites, you know, you're getting a nice even bite of the vegetables to meat to potato mixture, I would go with a mixture that has it all diced up in one. And honestly, that's what I normally get. This is what I have in the freezer, so this is what we're going to use today. So my onions, we'll just give them a little stir here. say we can go ahead and get our ground beef added in there. So this is our homegrown ground beef that I love to cook with. We are starting to get low on it, so I am very picky on how I use it. But it is really good in the shepherd's pie. We use a ton of ground beef. We always seem to run out of it before the steaks or the roasts for some reason. Well, I guess just because like meal prep, it's so much easier. And I'm going to add some salt and pepper to that. Okay, and I'm just going to carry on cooking that until it's brown and fully cooked through. This little trick works so well anytime you're cooking ground beef, and instead of, tipping the pan up and trying to drain it that way, if you just have a little bit of grease or drippings in the bottom, use a few pieces of paper towel and let that soak up the grease or drippings in the bottom of the pan, and then you can just pop the paper towel out, throw it in the garbage, and it's super quick and easy, zero cleanup involved, and you don't have to risk dumping out the entire pan of ground beef, because if you're like me, that happens way too often.
Tater tot shepherd's pie.
How good does that look? So that is our tater tot shepherd's pie done. I'm just gonna set it behind me so that it can come cool a little bit before we pop it in the fridge. I also don't think I have showed you the finished chicken parm casserole. It's looking delightful as well. So it's cooling. It's been out of the oven for a little while, but I'm gonna keep it out on the stove top there to continue to cool. We're gonna have this one for supper, so it won't go into the fridge. It's getting closer to supper time. We'll just maybe heat it up a little bit further. What was that timer for? Oh, that was for the tater tot casserole, and I just pulled it out a smidge early. So we're gonna set this behind us too. Okay, now we're gonna get going on our final recipe for the day. So as you guys know, well, if you watch any of my other videos, you know that I like to prep usually a quick and easy grab and go breakfast as well when I do my Sunday meal preps. This morning when I made our Sunday breakfast, we had French toast and fresh berries. I think I maybe like tripled my French toast recipe so that my daughter and I now have French toast to eat through the week. I cut them into, my mom's family is English, so we would call them soldiers, but I cut them into like sticks, and that'll be something easy that, you know, if we're running behind, my daughter can eat on the way in the morning in the vehicle. I can kind of grab it and eat it while I'm going as well. So I like to prep French toast. It's another one of those quick and easy ones. I add vanilla, cinnamon, and some maple syrup into my custard mixture so that they're pretty well ready to go. If we have time and we're here, I always serve them with berries and a little bit more syrup just to make it, you know, extra delicious. But yeah, that's already prepped and ready to go. So that's already in the fridge and done. Now we're going to make an easy peanut chicken satay. So for the chicken satay, I've got my crock pot insert here, and I'm going to prep it in the crock pot. I like to use my crock pot at least weekly, if not multiple times a week, because as I'm doing today, we can prep everything inside the crock pot, pop the lid on it, throw it in the fridge, and then the morning of, I can pull it out of the fridge, put it in the insert, set it to low, and then when I get home, supper is essentially made. So this is a recipe I found online that I've kind of adapted over time so that it's something that I know that our family will love. My goodness, I'm having a hard time today. So I will link the recipe. I'll probably write out my version of the recipe so that you can make it exactly how I'm making it. You can always find my recipes over on my Instagram, but I'll probably write it out and then you can find it on the bottom of the video as well. But anyways, to start off, I'm going to pop, we've got our bag of frozen garlic. So I'm gonna pop a garlic puck in here. My recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of garlic. But if you've been around here for a while, you know we love garlic. So I'm gonna put a puck in, probably about a tablespoon of garlic. I'm gonna seal my bag up right away so I don't forget to do both seals. And then this won't take much time at all to prep, so I'm just gonna leave my garlic out on the counter and we'll pop it back in the freezer when we're done. So this one's really good. It's something that's a little bit different that I maybe wouldn't have normally prepped for my family for a meal, but because I've been able to alter it and I've made it quite a few times now and I know that we really enjoy it, it's just something that's, you know, a little bit different than what we would normally eat, but I think that's also what makes it so delicious. So I've got my can of coconut milk here. I've got my handy dandy Pampered Chef, always Pampered Chef can opener. So oftentimes when you open a can of coconut milk, you get the cream on top. So just make sure you get all that goodness. And then we're putting an entire can of coconut milk in here. And I like to make sure we get all of that deliciousness out of there. Now my garlic, of course, is frozen, but it will thaw out in the fridge because I probably won't make this one or cook this one until, what's today is Sunday. So tonight we're having chicken for supper. So tomorrow we'll do the shepherd's pie. So probably Tuesday I'll pop this one in the slow cooker and we'll enjoy this one Tuesday evening. Dropping things, I think is probably how I'll do it. I like to kind of rotate our proteins so that we don't get sick of anything. So like tonight we're having the chicken parm bake. So tomorrow we'll do the shepherd's pie because that's ground beef. And then Tuesday we'll do chicken again. And then because I doubled the shepherd's pie recipe, we'll have shepherd's pie then Wednesday night. Thursday night we will have either leftover chicken parm or this, because this makes a lot. It takes 5 fairly large chicken breasts. Actually, the original recipe called for chicken thighs, which we do enjoy chicken thighs, but I find when you're doing it in a slow cooker, the chicken breasts work out really well. Once they're done cooking, you just shred them and they're just like fall apart tender. They're delicious. So chicken thighs or chicken breasts, totally whatever your family likes, but this is how we're doing it today. So now we are going to add 1/2 cup of creamy peanut butter. And I'm just gonna eyeball this because I hate measuring out peanut butter because it makes a heck of a mess. I think I'm making a mess. I'm not a huge peanut butter fan. I don't mind it if it's hidden in something. And I don't know why I don't love it, because my family, like I grew up and my family ate peanut butter, but like, I think in my mind it should taste like how the peanut butter in a Reese's peanut butter cup tastes like. Nice and sweet. All right, I'm gonna say that's about 1/2 cup there now. Okay, we've got our peanut butter in there. Now, next the recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of lime juice. I have a fresh lime, so I'm just going to put the entire lime in here. It's because I hate to waste it, and I don't know what else. Well, I have another lime in my fridge, so yeah, I'm just gonna use the entire lime. I hate wasting stuff like this, so if a recipe just calls for like 3 tablespoons of lime juice, like this recipe does, and I know I'm gonna have leftover fresh lime, I'm just gonna add it in. I hate wasting food, especially with the price of groceries these days. It's just, I'm not gonna waste it. So we're gonna put an entire lime in there. Oh, it smells so good. I love citrus. I'm a huge lime fan, so this is smelling delicious. You know what it kind of smells like right now to me is pad thai. If you ever get traditional pad thai and they put the chopped up peanuts on top and then they serve it with a lime wedge, I always put the lime on it. That's what it smells like, which is delicious to me. I usually keep a tea towel over here so that I can quickly wipe my hands off, and somehow it got moved around. All right, so we've got our lime juice in there. Now we're going to add our ginger. Now it calls for fresh ginger, which unfortunately I don't have, so we're just gonna go ahead and substitute our dried ginger. So it calls for a tablespoon of ginger grated, which seems like a lot, but it's fresh ginger. So I'm going to do 1/2 tablespoon, I think, ish. So that's our ginger in there. And then we need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Just reading the recipe just to make sure that that's the last dry ingredients that I need to use this for before I put a wet in there. Yeah, okay, so 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. 1. 2. Now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of honey. Now, this is a local honey. I always reuse my honey jars. So this is actually a local wildflower honey. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. I should have had this upside down earlier. Actually, you know what? I have the jar in my cupboard. I'm gonna grab the jar out, it might be easy. All right, I've got my jar of honey here. Now this jar, I always just keep it out on my stove because I use it quite a bit. but as you can see, it's almost empty. So I'm probably just gonna use it up and then I'll be able to refill it. And actually, it seems like that's just about the perfect amount. That's awesome. So we used up that honey. Get all that goodness off of that spoon. I don't want to waste any of that beautiful honey. Okay, now we are going to add a tablespoon of toasted sesame oil. I've got that here. I don't cook with a ton of sesame oil, so I just buy it in the smaller little bottle here, but actually it's delicious to cook with, especially when you're doing something like this. It adds a really nice flavor. So what did I say, a tablespoon? The color always throws me off. So a tablespoon of toasted sesame oil. We've got our garlic already in there. So now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of yellow curry powder. I'm gonna get rid of this because we're done with the tablespoon one. All right, yellow curry powder. 2 teaspoons. I really like cooking with yellow curry powder as well. I find it just adds a really nice dimension, a depth of flavor to your meal. I use a lot of yellow curry powder. I probably did 2 heaping teaspoons there. And now we're going to do a teaspoon of cumin. I also like cumin a lot, like all these flavors together are my jam. Teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of garam masala. So this is the kind that I have. It's a President's Choice. I don't know if you can see that there. And I really like this one. I use this one when I make our, the Mediterranean dip that I believe I've made in a video with you all before. Oh, it smells delicious. So good. So what did I say? 1 teaspoon. I'm gonna do a heaping teaspoon because I love those flavors as well. And then it also calls for half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Normally I would omit these because I don't want it to be too spicy for my daughter, but I think it'll still be okay. Maybe I'll do closer to like a 1/4 teaspoon. There we go. All right, and that is everything. So I'll just give it a little stir and try to bring everything together in here. Probably just take a few minutes because that thick peanut butter and that thick honey. What I've done in the past when I made this is I've heated up the mixture, but I don't really want to do that this time because I don't want the mixture to be warm when I'm then gonna put my chicken breast in there, and I'm gonna refrigerate it. I'm not gonna cook it right away. That seems to be coming. I just want to make sure everything is mixed well so that that chicken can kind of start to marinate while it's sitting in the fridge. So that's what it's looking like. It smells delicious. I wish you could smell it. Good. All right, so let's get our chicken breasts in there. So typically the recipe calls for, I think it's about 2 pounds of chicken thighs, as I mentioned, but I like to use the chicken breasts. And the package that I have here is for 5 chicken breasts, and it is for 1.246 kilograms, which is just shy of 3 pounds, I believe. Which is fine. There's tons of liquid in here, so they'll cook just perfectly. So we're just gonna set them in here, just make sure that everything, all the chicken gets kind of coated. I'm I'm just gonna push everything down with my spatula so that they're fully submerged. Make sure all that good stuff is off my spatula. Don't want to leave any of it behind. All right, so that's what we're looking like. I'm just gonna wash my hands and get rid of all the chicken stuff because I'm a little bit paranoid about having chicken out around other foods. Let me just do that and we'll be back. All right, friends, so we have reached the end of our cooking day. Today went by really well. I'm really impressed because at the beginning I didn't know what I was going to do with this chicken, so I'm really happy that I was able to figure out a recipe, and I know we are going to love this one. So just to recap, this is the easy peanut chicken satay. We're going to pop this one into the crock pot on low for the day. Enjoy it over rice with broccoli or salad. Tonight we are going to enjoy this beautiful chicken parm casserole with a side salad and possibly garlic bread. What time is it now? It's about 3:30, so I do have time to get my butt in gear and get something like that organized, so maybe we'll do that. And then we've got our beautiful tater tot shepherd's pie. If you do anything out of any of my videos, I highly suggest giving this one a try. It is going to change your world when it comes to shepherd's pie. Not that there is anything wrong with a traditional shepherd's pie or cottage pie, whatever you want to call it, but this just makes it extra delicious and extra easy. And who doesn't like easy, you know? So I would highly suggest giving this one a try. I did pop some cheese on the top because we love cheese, so that's another little hot tip to try if you do the tater tots as well. Okay, so I got my kitchen reset and realized that I had a bit of extra time, so I'm gonna prep the garlic bread. So in a previous video, we made French bread, and I told you that I like to cut them up into small portions, slice them in half, and keep them in my freezer like this. So I just went out to my freezer and grabbed this. So that's what we're going to use. Another little hot tip is anytime you're using parchment paper, I like to use parchment paper for something like this because it just makes cleanup so much easier. You just toss the parchment paper. In our case, I burn it in the wood stove, so it's fire starter. Nothing goes to waste around here. But a little tip to keep your parchment paper laying flat is you take it and you crumple it up into a ball. And then you open it up, straighten it back out, and then it will sit right in your pan so nicely. So this works really well in, you know, when you are making squares or anything like that and you want it to sit in the pan nicely, or 9x13. It works really well for that as well. I just love this little trick. I learned it off another YouTube channel that I really like to follow, Acre Homestead, Becky. She taught me this and I do it all the time now. So I've got our oven preheating. Actually, no, I don't, because what I like to do, I'm getting ahead of myself, is I like to cook these from room temperature oven. I just find it works well. So I do have these pre-sliced. I don't know if you can see that well there, but because they're so frozen, they might be tricky to get open. I'm just gonna make all of them because whatever we don't eat tonight, Brennan and I always take leftovers in our lunch. So we'll have leftovers for our lunch and then another meal. We'll just reheat it. So I just pop my butter knife in there and just twist, and then it pops open. It might be a little tricky. And twist. And it opens right up. These are in my stand-up freezer. I wonder if maybe it's turned up, like, I don't know that you can have it turned up too high, but it just comes out of there much more. Maybe it was just because there was only a few in the bag as well. Maybe that has to do with it. They just feel like rock hard. but that's fine. They'll be perfect once they warm up. Okay, so we've got our frozen French baguette here. I love to use this stuff. If I have time, I make garlic butter from scratch, but these days I rarely have time, so I use this. I always keep it in the fridge. It's not a butter, it's a garlic spread. I believe it's vegan, but it tastes delicious. So this is what I use. Keeps in the fridge forever. So honestly, I usually buy a few of them at a time. It's not overly expensive either, which is nice. So we're just gonna spread it out on each one of these. I'm usually pretty generous with this, because as you guys know, if you've been around, you know that we really enjoy garlic in this house. All right, so I'm just going to keep going until I have all of these ready, and then we will get some cheese on them because like we need more cheese, obviously. Okay, so I've got my garlic bread all buttered up there, or my bread all garlic buttered. And now I'm just gonna get some old cheddar cheese grated. You can use whatever cheese you want. This just happens to be what I had in the fridge. So we're gonna get it grated and pop it on top. And because it's not quite supper time yet, what I'll do is I'll just set these ready to go in the oven. And then about half an hour before we're ready to eat, I will turn the oven on. I do 400. I put them in at room temperature at 400 degrees, and usually about 15 minutes does it. I say half an hour before supper because we'll reheat supper as well, but also I like to let them sit, and that way, you know, when they come out of the oven, they're not piping hot. We can eat them when we're ready to eat them, if that makes sense. Okay, perfect. So we've got our cheese ready to go. Now I like to kind of snug them up a little bit, especially when you're using shredded cheese, because that way it doesn't kind of like fall through the cracks as much. Get them all snugged up there. Don't want to waste any cheese. Cheese is a hot commodity around here. Okay, we'll just put our cheese on each one. I never know how much cheese to shred, but shredded cheese does not ever go to waste in our house. It'll always get used for something. Okay, there we go. Ready to go whenever we are ready. So anyways, that's it for today, guys. It's a blustery day out there. I was hoping that maybe I would get outside, but I think I'll just wait for the nicer weather later in this week. I wanted to thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again, and take care.